Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today, being the Thought Leadership series, our topic is education and skills. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the country is celebrating Vijay Divas. Vijay Divas was observed on 16th December across the nation to celebrate the India's military victory over Pakistan in the 1971 war. Vijay Divas commemorates the victory of the Indian Armed Forces and the Mukti Bahini in the Indo-Pak War, which culminated in the liberation of Bangladesh, then East Pakistan, on 16th December 1971, and the historic surrender of over 93,000 Pakistani soldiers. After the India's victory, Lieutenant General A.K. Niazi, Pakistani Army commander in the Eastern Command, was surrendered to the Indian Armed Forces, which led by the then General Officer Commanding in Chief, Lieutenant General Jagjit Singh Arora, and also signed the instrument of surrender that resulted in the birth of Bangladesh. The 1971 War of Indo-Pak was led by the Indian Army Chief General Sam Manekshaw. According to media reports, 3,900 Indian soldiers were martyred and 9,851 soldiers were injured in this war. After this India-Pakistan war, a new country was formed on the world map by the name of Bangladesh. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India, stood by the side of the people of Bangladesh from the beginning of the liberation war, despite various adversities. She provided shelter to about 1 crore Bangladeshi refugees. She provided courage in the liberation war by facing different diplomatic hurdles. Her contribution to Bangladesh's liberation war will be remembered forever. Media conference with Lal Goel pays our tributes to the martyrs who laid down their lives for the nation. Now, coming to the Thought Leadership series. Crisis moments create opportunity. Problems and crises ignite our greatest creativity and thought leadership, as it forces us to focus on things outside the norm. Thought leadership is fundamental in business today and consists primarily of finding and sharing great information in a way that attracts and retains. Thought leadership is when a leader's thoughts are being used by leaders to lead others. Thought leadership is influencing a narrative by understanding what needs to be done. A thought leader can be recognized as an authority to a specific field and whose expertise is sought and often rewarded. That can be an expert, a historical figure, or a wise person with worldly impact. In this series, we will be asking straight questions and we expect a straight answer from our thought leader, who is Dr. Kurian. Dr. Kurian is MSW MPhil PhD. Dr. Kurian is the principal of Alwas College, Morbidri. Sorry. He worked from 1991 to 2000 with Koraga tribe of Dakshin Kannada through Samagra Gramin Ashram Corp, which is involved in tribal activism in Karnataka. He was principal of Alwas College of Social Work from 2000 to 2009. He has been the member of BOE and BOS of Mangalore University. He initiated 16 new postgraduate programs and coordinated and implemented the academic, administrative, and infrastructural and research requirements. He coordinated NAC visit for the first time in the institute and completed the NAC accreditation. He initiated more than 30 certificate courses. He initiated various teacher development programs. He initiated research-centered pedagogy for postgraduate departments. He is guiding and monitoring the academic functioning of 174 faculty members and 40 departments. Welcome, Dr. Kurian, on our show. Dr. Kurian, you as I had already termed you as a thought leader, a leading educator, a person who has worked in social arena also, as well as for the upliftment of the tribals. You are working uh, day and night tirelessly for providing good education, quality education, as well as the skills to the students. And being a principal of a very well known, well reputed institution, Alvas College, you have scored many miles and you have won so many laurels across the board. But today, our topic is education and skills. And this today we are going to ask straight questions and we expect straight answers from you. So I am sure you are ready, because being a principal and a teacher, this is something very awkward for me to ask the questions to you. Otherwise, it's your always prerogative to ask the question. But now my first question goes to you is, what is the goal of schooling?
As you started introducing, it's not generally not an acceptable form to ask questions to the teacher. Actually, it should be other way around. There should be enough options for children to ask questions. And in a classroom or in a learning environment where questions are not being permitted or not asked, that environment will lead to autocracy, because it will be a teacher-centered, authority-centered classroom. So I say I totally disagree with you that fact that any teacher should be asked, so that the teacher also gets a new kind of ideas and
Dr. Kurian, yes, you rightly said. But this was when you were a student or I was a student. But today, what we are seeing is even the teachers feel irritated if students wants to know something. And we have seen many cases where the students feel that the child is showing his over smartness, and sometimes they complain to the parents that your child is very over smart. He's putting us in a very embarrassing position by asking some questions. And I will tell you during the program why I have said like this. But now, please, Dr. Kurian.
Okay, I'll answer this. Questions are different from questioning. Usually people think when you ask a question, they have been questioned. So a teacher is never questioned. A question is posed, which is going to generate a base for discussion among students and teachers, and a kind of an attitude among teachers and all authority saying that if a question is posed, I should answer. Of course, you should answer. But finding answer is not the sole responsibility of the teacher. It is a combined effort of both the teachers, students, and all other stakeholders put together. Then the knowledge creation will be a happy journey. If you say teacher has to answer and he has not answered, or he is made liable for the whole environment or the whole learning process, that is going to again harm and hamper the whole learning process and the basic inquisitiveness in the child. So what I mean by inquisitiveness is, each child when it gets born, it has a natural tendency to understand, get into the whole environment with a very great zeal. As it grows, as we put him into the family system, as we put the child into an educational system, instead of inquisitiveness, fear and avoiding asking questions develops more compared to the inquisitiveness. Had the natural inquisitiveness prevailed, the world would have been much, much, much better today than what it is today. So what I want to clarify is, if a student asks a question, it is not questioning the teacher. And I usually make this quote in all the classrooms and wherever I go. Questions are permanent. Answers are only a temporary, the time for the time that answer is given, but no answer is correct and no answer is complete. Answers keep on changing, but questions are permanent. So asking questions is the important pedagogy for creating knowledge. Less are the questions in any environment, that means the society is not growing. More the questions, definitely the society is growing. That's why you take any area, it could be education, it could be health, it could be technology, it could be agriculture. More questions come, more problems come, more answers come. That is why an area develops. So I believe the only one difference that we have to make is if somebody asking a question, don't take it as questioning. That's a very simple answer for that.
Okay, before I will go back to my first question, I will just add here, when I was a student and my initial thing is still for the quest, I used to ask many questions. And the result was that my teacher complains to the principal that this student is asking so many questions, his knowledge, and that's why the other children are disturbed. Please promote him. So I got two double promotions in my schooling, which I think was not good in one way, although it was very good that I have promoted. I did my 10th class when I was only about 13 years old. But I feel that in spite of giving all the answers of that, because that type, it was not overshowing something. It was a kids queries which I wanted to solve those things, or I want to know the things. As you rightly said, that when the child is born, he or she wants to know many things. Now, my question again, what is the goal of schooling?
Okay. So straight away, goal of schooling is socializing a child to the best possibility of him and the society. And of course, by acquiring or providing the environment for each individual in the education system to bloom to all the best possibilities of that individual. So that is, if you can put it in one sentence, it is education is providing a system or the whole space around an individual to come out with the best in him or her.
Okay. I will discuss about the quality of education afterwards. But now my question to you is, which type of schooling is better for skill training? When we are talking of education and skill, like we have different types of schooling. I am talking of the preschool, this thing like Montessori. We have CBSE, we have local state boards. Then we have IB, we have convent education. Now we have different type of education systems available in India. Which type of schooling you think, or even the government managed or municipality managed or the panchayat managed schools, which schools are more focused on skill training than the education based?
Okay. Now, before telling you what exactly the kind of schooling, I would like to have a small clarification regarding what we mean by skills. For me, skills are farming, dairying, cleaning toilets, vegetable growing, carpentry, blacksmithy, cooking, and apiculture, horticulture, maybe mushroom cultivation. Maybe those are the necessary skills which are really pertinent and important even today for any society at any time.
But Dr. Kurian, I can understand you being in Murbidri, here all whatsoever skills you have said is practical. Think of a child in Mumbai or Delhi, where there is no agriculture land to be seen in the city. It's a concrete jungle.
I'll come back to your questions. Today, what you mean or what you name skill as something which can earn you money. Skill is equated to marketability and profitability. That is not skill. That is converting a human being into a productive unit. So skill is something which should be where the whole person should be able to enjoy it. The person should be able to involve in it. For example, today what we see is a computer science is a great skill. Of course, I agree it as a skill. But when you say computer science is a skill or programming is a skill, maybe artificial intelligence, using artificial intelligence effectively is a skill. Now, what is the objective of this skill? the objective of the skill has to be very beautifully framed to call it as a skill or not a skill. For example, you know, see, we keep it in a bigger canvas. All the skills of the world put together today, that all the skills that we have, industrial, various production, you just compare whether it is progressive or whether it is going to be threatening you. And all of us, including the greatest scientists of the world and the leaders of the world, agree that all the skills that we have today, it has led to more of a devastation and fear than harmony and good life. So I'll come up with the definition of Gandhiji for skill. He says skill is something which is sustainable and which should help the person to be self-reliant rather than self-dependent on somebody. Skill should be something which should bring harmony between you and the nature. Skills should be something which should build you in such a way that you can always be contributing and accepted in the community. But today, the whole globe put together, all the education systems put together, you are always warning everybody, saying that next 50 years we don't know whether we survive. The earth is going towards extinction. For example, I'm just coming up with one example which is very relevant now. For example, you said we are getting almost the fossil based oils are getting over, pollution is increasing, so we say we may have to go to other energy sources, maybe solar, or maybe other cheaper renewable energy sources. So now when you shift, there are a lot of skills required, of course. And when you shift to solar or any other kind of energy source, you require a lot of cells, mines. So instead of digging oil, you are going to dig mines now, which is going to be another devastating experience for you, because to replace this, you require something else. Mining is a very, very important thing. So instead of digging oil wells, you are going to dig mine wells now, more mines, more mining. So ultimately, the final objective of bringing sustainability doesn't serve. You create unsustainability in some other area to create a sustainability here. So I'm coming to your question. That is, now when you say skill and education, skills are required. Skills are part of a good education. It is not education should be for skills. Say a person who is educated would be able to design and acquire and plan those skills which are necessary for the society and sustainability. A person who is only skillful will not be able to, maybe many a times will not be able to, because he is being used as only a laborer. So when you are saying I am going to convert somebody only into a skillful person, you want to have a few people as laborers and workers all along. Education was one tool which has liberated the whole world from only being a slave and a laborer to a dignified individual of nature of a dignified individual all across the states and all across the globe. Now, if you ask me, education and skill, I'll say education is the tool, as a technique, or the whole liberating tool, which has to be integrated into the community, not only in the classroom, but it has to be integrated into the community. And the skills has to be sustainable. If you are creating a more fear and more unsustainability in the system and society and among people, we cannot consider it as a skill. I'll give one more example. Could be amniocentesis, or could be the, what do you say, sex determination techniques that we have, skills today we have, which has created a big fear among the whole human community, better half of the whole community, where each female fetus is feeling so threatened today. At any moment, a female fetus can be killed and thrown away. So can you call it a skill? So when the skill doesn't go with the control of education and a thought out mind, skills will be always devastating. That is why E is equal to mc square, which is invented by Einstein, said I shouldn't have invented this formula, because it resulted in atom bomb.
Yes, Dr. Kurian, again, I am coming to the same what you have said. You mentioned about those skills, how a child in Mumbai or a big metro city, because there is no land for agriculture, horticulture, plantation. Now, you are saying that if you think that he has to learn on only virtual learning or on the lab learning, that he should see the, but until unless you have a practical experience of going to a field, doing yourself, it is not, you cannot develop those natural things. So how you think, that's why my question to you is, yeah, if I will come back to my question, which type of schooling, because we are seeing lots of different models of schoolings are coming, Montessori, IB, CBSE, state boards, even those like panchayat run or the municipal runs. Which schooling you think the board is better, where the child is, as you say, education and skill both will go together? Which one is according to his
Okay.
best?
I'll answer it in a different way. Instead of which kind of school, I'll take up this question as what principle of schooling. So today, the whole education is again measured by productivity. So if you look at a child who is physically challenged, okay, take an example of a physically challenged. If you look at him giving education and what is the productivity out of him, naturally you will not be giving a good education to him at all because the productivity is less. So education should be led by the principle of human development. Say in our country, all the education policies had an important goal of national development, not in terms of money, but in terms of beautiful human resource, community harmony, national integration, ethical values. So those were the main focuses. Of course, skills to sustain the country, skills to anchor him in the whole society, productivity, research, everything is very, very important. But any schooling system, whether it is a state board, CBSE, Montessori, say Montessori, the system itself is saying that the principle of system is to make the individual best.
I think the power has gone to Dr. Kurian's side. He has been disconnected, so he will be joining. But viewers, what Dr. Kurian meant to say is, whichever type of system, whether it's a Montessori, IB, CBSE, state board, etc., or convent, it all depends what principle they are adopting, how they are inculcating the values in the child, which is very, very important. And he says that ethics, whether we are integrating the ethics, the community feeling, etc., in a child or not, or we are only just want that he or she should become a person who is going to earn money, not for the skills for which where he or she is thinking about the integration of the country, not only just for the development of the country only. Yes, the country will be developed if you are thinking about the integration, harmony in the country, the country will develop. But according to Dr. Kurian, he says that those types of basic skills are very much required, and he mentioned about agriculture, horticulture, etc., etc. And here the problem is because he is at Morbidri, is a taluka, electricity is a problem, electricity has gone there. So I will just try if because until as the electricity will not come, it's very difficult for him to join. But let me see if he can join by the mobile. I will just checking with him what he says, because we want him, it's a one-to-one only, no one else is there. I want that he should give the replies, straight replies, but I'm sure he will join as early as possible. Yes, he's there now, he's joining us, so he will be there, and he will be taking my next question very soon. Now, Dr. Kurian,
I beg pardon for
yeah, I know that electricity has gone.
Yes,
So I was just telling my viewers about this.
yes.
Now, what you have mentioned, yes, I agree with you. But do you think the schools understand this, that education and skills have to be in such a way that it should be for the benefit of the child, for the benefit of the family, society, country, and the entire world, not for an individual's benefit. As you say that we are only creating that for the job, we are making one person for the only to do some job. But as you rightly said about that, one should be for community harmony, ethical values, etc. So do you think the schooling, because this is my last question, then I will go to the higher thing, but I want to know from you, because the foundation is school, and unfortunately in India, to be very frank, we are more emphasizing on higher education. We are not looking towards the basic or primary education. That's why I'm asking you what you say about this, Doctor.
Yes, I agree totally with you that our focus and dedication to primary education is very, very low and less. And as a country, even till today, we have around 30% of the children outside the school. We have very recently brought in a system where we believe that all children should be in the school. Just bringing them into the school itself is a big challenge for us. And the quality and the commitment of the education institutions at lower primary levels are very, very low, because for two reasons. One is education is become a commodity now. We are converting education into a commodity rather than it's a basic service of the society. And quality education should be available to all the children. That's of course our government of India and all the governments in our country, state governments in our country have proclaimed that quality education will be given. But unfortunately, the gap between what we expect and what is there in the reality is a big one. So,
but why, Dr. Kurian? If we follow the education system, we blame. I'm using the word, we blame Mr. Lord Macaulay for imposing the education system in India. But if you see the education system in UK, I'm talking today, the primary education, the quality of primary education, which was given by the state government, by the government, is far, far superior even than the private education system there. And it's very, very difficult to get admission in the government schools there, the primary schools. While in India, primary schools conditions are so pathetic. I'm not saying every, but majority, and especially in North India. No roofs, no sitting place. They are using as a cow shed in the night, a daytime school. No proper teachers are there. And if the teacher is there, he or she is busy for election work, for many, many works. Why we blame the Western society, Western culture is bad. But education-wise, if you say UK's primary education stands far, far ahead than any other country, while in our country, which follows the British education system, although nowadays we blame that education system, we are not opening our eyes to see what is happening there.
So our problem is, one is we do not consider all individuals as individuals. We look at them as different factions of society, poor, rich, that caste, this caste, belong to that. That's one thing. The second thing is our commitment in terms of money and infrastructure to primary education is, maybe our country doesn't have enough fund or what, I don't know. I cannot justify it, but it's very, very poor. If we make a commitment for 15 years that we are going to make our primary education best, next 100 years, you needn't have to worry about the country, because the people will build the country.
Dr. Kurian, Delhi government, forget 15 years, not even 5 years, they changed. Today, the condition is in Delhi, even the very rich class people, they want to send their child to the Delhi government school. Kejriwal can do. See, it's a political will. It's a thing that if you are giving a priority to a school or a temple or a mosque or a church, if it depends on the priorities. Don't you think the government is not taking any interest, or their intentions are not to train properly, give the proper education so that people will ask many questions and they will become more intelligent, or they are lacking the vision which is required, because if education, the system which we are talking today, if this is the condition, how we expect the Nobel? No, we have not received a Nobel Prize from since independence in India, 72 years.
Your questions are two. One is whether it is a lack of will or knowledge. Certainly not. Indian politicians or Indian bureaucrats or Indian scientists are in par with any superior the human resource of the world. And the exclusion, the kind of exclusive forces that we have in operation in the country, exclusion is it's a systematic method of a society to keep certain people away or under to certain conditions, that is acting very strong in India. So our inclusive thoughts are very shallow. We cannot accept people as people. There are a lot of things which, say, you compared West India, England, and all these countries. Even England and other countries had these exclusive policies which had create a lot of discrimination against people. But you lessen that, you bridge the gap, you reduce the gap of exclusion, you will consider that everybody is eligible for a quality education. And a government school in Assam or a government school in Manipur, I had been to Assam a few years back, I know what is the condition of schools there. Compared to Karnataka, Assam is a state which has very less infrastructure for schooling of the children. So unless, and I think I have given you the answer. It is the exclusive mindsets of exclusion, which is working above our intelligence and reason. When I think when I rationalize, oh, every people should get that education, but that intention should come from an emotion of inclusion. Till we feel that all Indians are our brothers and sisters, and brothers and sisters in all sense. When I'm saying this, you would definitely feel what the amount of social pressures have to be overcome to prove this fact. So I believe our problem is that probably if I name a person, then there will be a lot of discussions. Ambedkar, the whole thought process of Ambedkar was making it inclusion, bringing more inclusive mindsets, so that it's not only about Dalits or women, it's about the whole mindset that we have. So I'm not blaming anybody. It's a way one society has developed. It is a big hurdle.
Dr. Kurian, you mentioned about the skills. You said the skills are taken as for earning money. But the main challenge in India today is the survival challenge. How to survive? Just see the conditions. You know better than me or many of the viewers, because you have worked in those areas where even they don't know whether they will get the food for tomorrow or tonight. When this is the condition, don't you think the education basic aim is to teach some skills so that they will face the survival challenges which the community is facing? Let's be very practical. Forget about those 30% or 40% super rich or rich people or middle class people. Think of those who are below poverty line, and not only below poverty line, they are below any lines, you can say. So then when this is the situation, how you think the education, if it will not be inclusive of the skills just to survive, whether it is a carpentry work, a plumber work, or electrician work, or any work which can give them some technical knowledge, or even labor work, a mason work, all these things. Don't you think it is required today unless their economic status is upgraded?
Yes, there are two things which I would like to tell you. One is when you say this, the survival in a society wherever there is a insecurity of being surviving, or when a community or any group of people is put into a condition where they have to fight for their survival, you cannot expect any development. Because I have been working with as I have told you earlier also, I have been working with a group of people, a tribal group, which is extincting. So I'll give you a statistics. When we started working in 90s, their population was 21,000. They are Koragas. And the last census, their population is 17,000. That means over the year they're reducing. Definitely, we will feel that one day they will.
Now my question here is whether they have been reduced or they have been converted. The allegation which is coming nowadays floating in the Karnataka, they are coming out with the anti-conversion bill, and they says that they are vulnerable, so weaker section, and the one particular community convert them in that community. That's why the reduction is there. Is it
now conversion is
because you have worked with them, so what you will say it's more authentic. Yes, please.
It is not conversion. Conversion is about beliefs, but survival is about the social system. So there is no conversion. It's because of the social, the health systems which is around them that's doing it. I'm giving the example to say when a population is made to fight for its survival, that is the most kind of an humiliating thing for any society or a government. If I say there are populations in my country, even still today, they are fighting for their survival, that is the most humiliating thing for any government of any country. And when you say this condition is there, that's what I'm saying, telling you, when there are populations are fighting for survival, I don't think it is not due to the resources available. Our country is a rich country. We have enough resources. Gandhi's statement again, I'll come back to. We have enough for all of our needs, but not of our greeds. So we have enough resources. It was the failure. It is a failure because when British were ruling us, the flow of resources was definitely London or England focused. But today, where the flow of the resources take place. So, if you make a decentralization of the flow of resources with the focus on education, again I say education, then skills are not a problem. And then I have a second point to say there. Usually we have to create a condition where occupational mobility should be possible. A person who is working as a carpenter needn't have to be a carpenter throughout his life. He can be an entrepreneur of a steel industry as well, because they are its basic skills. I was giving an example of a Koraga tribe who can weave a lot of baskets and a lot of things. No engineers teaches them how to create the structure. It is there in the brain. And no measurements scales are used to create a basket. They use it by their brain training. That can be definitely used into a greater possibility, provided they get an opportunity and education.
Now, Dr. Kurian, you have made one point. My question is, if when you are saying that a person can do many things, which even the engineers have to take lots of time to do that, what they are doing with their, when a fourth fail gave the scientific theory in the world, which is now the research material for the engineers and physicists, the Michael Faraday, then why we require education at all? My question is, do you think the education in the present form that we are having today is required? Or if not, if yes, then why not upgrade it? See, today what we are talking, after 5 years, the same education stands nowhere. And we are seeing today, we are out of the, I can say, very few colleges or universities are there, those who have the curriculum where they can go abroad and have something to say. But otherwise, it's a, when you are not revisiting, you are not revamping your curriculum now and then, how you expect 1968 or then 1986 and then 2021, when this new education policies were introduced? And what is the faith? How much it was implemented? And now when I'm coming to the NEP, I'm now asking you, NEP emphasis on skills and skill India and whatnot. Now, where is then whether education is important or skill is important? And when a fourth standard can do these things, why we require education? We just require a skill training. That's it.
I have a very simple answer for it. The schools are reflections of the society. If you have a society which is regressionist, what I mean by regressionist is a human being who thinks that my past was glorious and I belong to the past. You will be mentally, you will be kept away from the current situations and you will be using all your past techniques, past beliefs to address a present problem. That is not possible. Logically, anybody would know it. So when a whole society is regressionist, probably plagued by the beliefs, probably controlled by the religion, probably controlled by the traditional or kind of a concentrative labor forces, a lot of issues like this. It could be England, it could be America, it could be India. I'm not naming only India for this. It could be say a big corporatization, which is going to create a mindset among the people. So all these social factors are going to influence the education system. It is not the education system. Now this is a balance. Whether education systems can create a social order or whether the social order is influencing more the education system. It is both the way actually, give and take. But ultimately, we all believe that education system should be creating a new social order. So education should be able to bring new things in them. But when the mindset, for example, I give an example of a student from any background in India, he is made to believe that all the techniques that I had in the past are superior than what I have to think today. So you are going to try to get an answer for today's problem in yesterday's waste box or box, whatever it is. So is it going to happen? So Faraday was in a society, fortunately, not so controlled by religion or controlled by religion, whatever. I don't know that period. But probably, I think that was a period where religion's control was getting less in the society because the West also, the one particular religion was, dominating, and that was, dictating rules to all the rulers as well. So when probably the reforms like neoliberalism, liberalism, rationalism, all those the thought-provoking or social change phenomena had created different kind of possibility for all individuals. So if you create a beautiful, open, inclusive, democratic, and rational social system, your education system also will be correspondingly doing that. A teacher going into a classroom with a regressionist mindset or a mindset which doesn't permit question, as that you asked earlier, will never be able to bring anything new from the students, because he will be asking them to obey, comply. This attitude, this is, you may think it's a small thing. No, it's not a small thing. All the teachers put together till your graduation, they will influence your mindset. It is not only the subject that they teach, it is the whole value system that they resonate to you. So that is, so what I'm trying to tell you is a very simple thing. Unless you have a very progressive social system out, your education is not going to give you any result.
But the Dr. Kurian, when you are talking about the social system, the allegation is that the colleges are becoming the social evil workshop. They have become dens for drugs. They have become the alcohol and whatnot. So the people feel that the colleges where they are sending their children are either they are not safe or their system is so weak that they are not controlling what. And you said that when we are talking about the past, yes, we have to talk, because everyone, because I'm doing this media conference almost every day, and the things which I am listening from many of the senior persons, joint family was far better than the nuclear family. Earlier, our system was very inclusive. This system is not good. We always try to blame the new generation. We put all the blame to new, but we forget one thing. New generation, as you said, the child when takes birth, what he or she knows, it is we, the elder generation, has to teach those, to give those values. So don't you think the allegation which is now that the colleges, I'm not talking about your college, I'm talking of across the board, all the college, majority of the college, and especially in big cities, although now it is coming in the smaller cities also, they have become like den for drugs and other things. What do you say about that?
Okay, it's a very simple thing, sir. At the age of adolescence and developing age, if you create a environment which provides you drug out, there will be 10 to 20% of the students, naturally they'll be using it. It could be at your age when you were studying, it could be cinema. At or my age, it was that was a period where cinema was just getting introduced to Indian society in a big way. So children who do not have an ability to manage their emotions, manage their personal disabilities, manage the various psychological pressures, will definitely go to these kind of things. It's a very common possibility anyway. But the responsibility should not be laid down to the children. Ultimately, the whole world, it's not only India, is trading drug. And is it that impossible factor for the governance all over across the globe? We call such a beautiful humanized governance today to just stop it. So it is possible. It is possible. But what we do is we start blaming the end user, a student. He gets into it. Probably even say the students who doesn't know how to use their freedom, maybe from the children from well-to-do families who have never trained for their social responsibilities. They see only money and money equivalent to what is it, carelessness or irresponsibility. They start experimenting with all these kind of things, and our media, our governance, and our system start blaming the user. I believe when alcohol was a ban in India, probably 50 years back, if you think your family or any family in India, alcohol was considered to be the most dirtiest thing in the family. Today, we have created an environment which can be accepted very well. Drug is also the same thing. Today, we consider it as a dirtiest thing, but maybe next 50 years, we see that this will be converted into a accepted norm. Because, again, I am telling you this, the basic system and belief of creating a beautiful individual has been foregone. Rather, achieving profits to certain sections or certain purposes are been gaining importance. So when you say the alcohol gives you the maximum money, drug gives you the maximum money, when the governments discuss that drug should be legalized, what do you mean? The whole governance is approving it.
See, because you have seen during the lockdown, once the lockdown was really eased, the first thing they opened was the alcohol shops, the bars, because the money, big money. Definitely the drugs, many of the countries have started legalizing. Even in United States, few of the states have legalized marijuana and many things. But don't you think the blame also goes to the colleges? Why? Because first thing, earlier the teachers were a dedicated person, a noble profession. Teaching was a noble profession. They were not for money. They were for respect. And today, the teachers, either they are for money, but money means it's a pity condition. Many colleges are not making full payment what they are supposed to make. And then the teacher have no time. Either he's busy for taking the tuitions. So he or she doesn't have that much time to give to the child out of the classroom, not only in the classroom, as you said, the classroom, the questions, because you rightly said many children, because of their complexes, they can't ask the question openly in front of all, but they ask outside. Earlier, it was a practice. In our time, we used to go to and ask the teacher, this is the problem, and they explain. Today, they don't have time because they are rushing from one class to other class and then rushing to the home or to the coaching centers, teaching, etc., etc. So, why to blame only the students or the parents? Why not take a blame to the college management as well as the teachers? What do you say about this, Dr. Kurian?
I consider it as not a college management. It is a system that you are managing your education system. If you ask me, who has to get, if consider teachers as a society builders, if you consider them as that, how you have built them? You are trying to get the maximum benefit out of them in terms of money. So minimum teachers, maximum profit, maximum students met. So each teacher also is given a, today our teachers are in competition to earn. They say, I take up so many classes, I get so much money. So when the education is converted into a business, you cannot expect anybody to work free in a business. Business is for maximizing profit. That is the definition of the business. Any person do business, it is for maximization of the profit in terms of money. So when you say character building is also a profit, of course, it's a great human dividend and profit for the whole country and the world. But when you do not recognize it, and if you find a teacher, they say, I'm going to do it with the dedication, how you are going to support him? So when everybody is in a rat race to prove themselves as they are better teachers by gaining more, earning more. So today, internationally, online education companies are ruling you. None of the government's policies are going to be limiting you. So it's online companies which put parents and students into a rat race.
But we criticize China as our enemy country, but China banned it. They have taken a decision. In India, we have not banned. Now, again, coming to the teachers' condition. Earlier in our time, we never heard that anyone can raise a stick to a teacher. No one. It's unheard. What we are seeing, whether it is Uttar Pradesh, whether it is Punjab, teachers have been beaten mercilessly by the police force. The same police force which were taught by the same teachers community. Don't you think it gives a very bad impact on the moral of the child, the student? How they will give you the respect if they feel that you are also like a rickshaw puller who has been beaten by the police day and night. You are also being treated like the same way. And tomorrow you are going to give us a moral lecture to us. Why we will listen to you? You are not superior to that constable. He can beat you. So you are under him. What do you say about this, Dr. Kurian?
Yes, sir. So basically, teachers as a profession has been degraded very, very badly in India today. Even last week, I saw there are few instances where students harass and bully teachers. So I believe there are mistakes from the teacher side also. I have a lot of incidents where teachers even sexually harass students, harass this guy. So it's not that one student or one teacher is happening. In the whole system, a lot of value degradation is happening. What I suggest to is bring back this value system into the schooling at the earliest by the policy, as you named China. If a country, if a governance want it back, that my education system should be intact and sacred, it can be done within months. It is not a big deal, but unfortunately, it is not that easy now, because governance of all across the globe, not only India, does not want to invest in education. They have taken a step after globalization, almost all the governments, not only Indian government. Education is not my business.
But you see that China, which were having the English was the weakest thing in China. And that's why we were ruling as far as the IT sector was concerned. But today, China has decided to educate and they have become a major player, and that's why they are number one economy in the world, because they have overcome all those shortcomings. They focused, and their main focus is education, and that's why they banned. Once they saw this online educators are spoiling the education system by minting money, by exploiting the students or the parents, they banned. While India, it is not. So my next question to you is, don't you think that the standard of education gone down drastically, Dr. Kurian?
Yes, I believe that. And then what has happened is the competitive global skills are being reserved for very few in India today, in any country today. The one who is in the top rank of acquiring them by spending money. And the global skills, what you think today are, be not accessible, not made accessible to the population who has been never in the education system all along. Probably I can name the first generation, second generation learners in India today. There are in the education system, there are people who had been in the education system for a long time, maybe fifth generation, sixth generation. Their status and their possibilities of getting into education system is totally different from a first generation learner. I can give an example of, say, today, probably computer language or coding is an important skill when it comes to many professions. A child who is exposed to it in the family and in the schools, and a child who is coming to a government school for the first time from his family, you just imagine the gap. And the amount of pressure on this child to compete with that child at that level. When you have created that gap, and this gap is widening, it is not a gap of only the money, the gap of knowledge and skills as well. When this gap is widened, naturally these people will have more kind of pressure to sustain themselves and survive. So instead of reducing the pressure for surviving, you are increasing the pressure for survival. So when the pressure for survival increases, again, there will be more degradation of the whole education system, because these people who are coming into the education system for the first time, they will drop out at 10th, they will drop out at 7th. And what you mean by a quality skill set for all individuals and an educated society is not going to come through.
Don't you think, Dr. Kurian, this concept of IIT and IIMs have also created a very big gap among the students? A student who got admission in IIT think that he and ensure that there is a future, and a student who is getting a normal engineering college, the difference of the packages which they are highlighting nowadays too much is so much that the child or the student goes under depression, or so many things are happening. We are reading so many suicides have been committed. Don't you think that instead of highlighting only IIT, IIMs, that so many, why not every city is having a IIT, or upgrade the education level of all the engineering college to the equivalent to the IIT or better than IIT? Then we can say that we are providing the education, same education to everyone. What do you say about this?
Yeah. The principle here is IIT, IIM is exceptional learners. In 1991, when the education policy was brought, there was a very important stress on exceptional learners. What I mean by exceptional learners is, there are two ends of exceptional learners. One is, as you said, you were a very bright boy and asked questions and you were promoted. There are students who are exceptionally good in their intelligence, who needn't have to be with the other students, because their ability may not get expressed in the right time. And there is another set of exceptional learners who are in the who say the other end, that is the one who cannot learn as fast as you can. It's only the speed of learning. It is not that whether you are bad or is good. But these IITs, IIMs, which have to use that concept, have converted them into a business organization, and an organization which caters only for those people after a competitive examination. That is a failure of our implementation policy. So as you rightly said, there should be the quality of education in IIT and a common engineering college should be same, but only the speed should be different. It is not the content and the way, it's only the methodology of implementing the knowledge. It is not the knowledge. I mean, it is not what you learn. So unfortunately, in the whole competitive world, what we have forgotten the principle. We are only acting. We don't know why you are doing this. That is the...
And for getting the admission in IIT, a complete city has been created, means has got the name, like Kota. And everyone is rushing to Kota, studying. Everyone sees it. Government also sees it. No action has been taken. Why? I see, it's economics. There is a very simple principle: demand and supply. When the supply is more and demand is less, or vice versa, then definitely you require more and more coaching institutes. It shows that the education level of up to the 12th class or PUC is not up to the mark. Otherwise, why you require a competition exam? You must say whosoever marked so much will get the admission directly. Like in universities, then the advantage will be no such type of coaching, or if the coaching will be there, that will for 10th or 11th and 12th. Today, the condition is the child is, once he did the 12th, he rushes to the quota or any other place, go for the coachings, extensive coaching, etc. for 1 year exclusively, spending lots of lakhs and lakhs of rupees. Here the gap starts. Now think of a child who's not having money. He or she is not going to get admission. Don't you think we are creating a haves and have-nots society in the education world?
Yes, definitely we are. And then when you see this competition, what you just look at it is, it's not the colleges now. The colleges roles have been reduced. Schools, colleges roles have reduced. For example, the coaching for competitive exams could be NEET or IIT exams. Not starts at 10 or 11. It starts at 3rd standard. And the parents who have a possibility of it, say, I'm telling you a principle, a child has to be recognized with these abilities by at least by 10th standard. Everybody cannot be an engineer, everybody cannot be a doctor, everybody cannot be a musician, everybody cannot be a painter, and everybody cannot be a sportsman. Instead of doing this, instead of having a very robust system to identify the best in the child and give him opportunities in those directions, that is what the new education policy suggests now. That each child should be identified with the best potentials, and a opportunity to pursue that potential has to be created, because a country, a society needs everybody. It's not an engineer and doctor. But unfortunately, since these professions are directly linked to money, directly controlled by the market, money market. So, demand and supply is also controlled by profit motive. So when there is an hoarding, when there is an extra profiteering possibility in any market, those will be the people who control both the customer as well as the service provider. So in the education system also, the same thing has come into place.
But Dr. Kurian, you mentioned about education policy, the National Education Policy 2020 NEP. Do you think it's implementable?
On this platform as well as in other platforms, I have raised my opinion. It is implementable to 20% of the top percentage of the society if you create systems, and 80% it requires probably 25 to 30 years more.
So basically what we are doing is we are just coming out with a policy which is not implementable, but today everyone is gaga, oh, it's a very good policy, it should be implementable, but it will change the entire country's education system. But the reality is that it is not going to be implementable. Even if we would have not come out with this education policy, the same 20% or some whatsoever the progressive we would have gone, but we have come out. Anyway, now coming to the skills. Again, I am asking one first straight question to you. Skill versus education. Where you will keep your money more, skill or education?
So I will say something like this. Education is to bring the best skill in you for your as well as the society's benefit out. So I will say education should be a process, or the whole education system should be a process which makes beautiful musicians, beautiful artists, beautiful agriculturists, beautiful doctors, beautiful engineers out of the whole available students in you, students for you. That is the final objective. And for example, I'm just giving an example. A person who studies psychology, sociology, and probably philosophy will be a better doctor than a person who study chemistry, physics, and mathematics. Because a doctor requires to have a human understanding and human touch more than that skills of scanning, skills of operating, skills of deciding medicines or probably pharmaceuticals. So why I am saying these two things is these are skills, very important skills, but who has this skill is important. So a right person with the right skill, right person with the proper skill should be the motto, not the skills.
Yeah. But Dr. Kurian, you know, 84% of the Indians students are unemployable. Employability is a very big question. And in one of the program, one of the educator mentioned it, that the condition is out of those 16%, after 1 year, only 6% are to be going to continue in the organization because their knowledge, the technical knowledge, the skills are very poor, the education. So when this is the condition, how you think that we will be able to create good doctors, good musicians and others when they are not employable? It means they cannot become a good entrepreneur also if their knowledge is so lack. So basically, our education system requires a total revamp with a good amount of money to be invested. While the budget this year is about 3 point some percentage of GDP, while as per the NEP, it should be 6%. When we are talking of the education is not properly funded and education is not up to the mark, how the skill will be developed in the country?
Again, when you say employable, who is deciding this? When after a graduate program, a particular company, a corporate comes and interviews a particular child and tells him that you are not employable. On what grounds? The grounds are, you are not employable since if I take you to the organization, you will not be able to produce the maximum immediately. That is the principle. Say earlier, if you remember, during 80s and 60s and 70s, graduate was interviewed and taken into a company, and he used to be getting trained for the job in the company, and then he would develop a lot of skills. Say this is a common question asked: how would you expect a person to process all the skills which you are not exposed to? Say when you have, I have minimum computer science engineering. But how can you expect me to know all the skills of a person who is working in a computer science firm? But today, industries are telling you that whatever the products, whether you are from IIT, whether you are from any engineering college or any graduate college, you are not employable because you are not immediately usable. So this term of marketing has to be replaced. Say, when you say this,
because the corporates wants the student who will join them should be immediately start working from the day one. They don't want that the person who is joining earlier. They used to give the training, as you rightly said. Dr. Kurian, I think we lost you. You are there? Yeah. Okay. So no, that is the difference. So don't you think for that the industries should come out with a particular training center in the colleges itself for 5 months or so, 6 months or a year, when they are doing the education? Suppose somebody is doing the graduation, simultaneously the training should be there by those industry people, because as you rightly said, every industry is having their specific requirements of a particular set of the students. Why not, instead that they will take them and then they will say, declare that you are unemployable, creating a lots of problem, joblessness, etc. If they will be there, collaborated with the colleges or the universities, don't you think it will give a boost up for the skill training as well as the job employment?
100%, sir. This is what, again, all the education policies all across have been arguing. The college should get more inputs from industry. That is there in all the almost policies. It's not a new thing or something. Industry.
Dr. Kurian, are you there? Dr. Kurian, are you there? Dr. Kurian, are you there? Okay. So viewers, again the same problem, the net has gone. So but I will just tell one thing of what Dr. Kurian has rightly said. Now the colleges, until unless the industries will not collaborate with them on site means in the college premises only, and give them, impart the training which they require. Earlier the corporates used to give the training at their premises, but now corporates want a ready to work from the D-Day one, the student, and that's why the unemployability is there. Just imagine how a young child or a student who has just passed his engineering or medical, or even he has become a graduate, and the next day he says, no, you have to do this work, without giving a proper training, which is happening because the corporates are also started cutting their cost. Otherwise, the training is required. And in other countries, the training is the main thing. If your training system is strong in any organization, then definitely the employees can get more job satisfaction, plus the output which the corporates requires, or the organizations requires, will be far more. But if they don't have, they want to cut the price cost by imparting the training at their premises, it is better, rather far better, that they will provide that training at the college level. They may give some financial aid to the college. Let the college will provide their training, which will be checked periodically by the institute, by the organization, by the corporates, to see that particular training in that field is going on or not, so that the college, once the student pass from the college, then he or she is ready to work in the organization immediately. And that is very, very important. Today, what we are seeing today in our country, the students are unemployable. And this is very sad on our part. Civil society, we one side, we say that we are going to be the global leader. But how come we can become a global leader when 15-16% are only employable? The rest of the students are not at all employable. So one has to. Now I can say Dr. Kurian is back. Sorry,
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Kurian, again you have the problem.
I'm sorry.
Oh, now my question goes again to you, Dr. Kurian, what you have explained very nicely. What is your experience? Like government claimed about Skill India. Now they have come out with Skill India 1.0, then Skill India 2.0. Do you think they were successful? Because there were lots of shortcomings and improvement. Now, being a principal of a college, I would like to know from you that Skill India 1.0 or Skill India 2.0 has made any dent or impact on the skill training in India, or our employability has increased by that Skill India mission? Dr.
Unfortunately, I will have to have a very negative note on this. The straight answer is no, because these programs, for example, what the important programs they included in Skill India could be computer skills, language, maybe some other skills, which has been in the implementation phase, it has been given for some outsourcing agencies. It is another set of business rather than, say, many agencies come as a person, in a college, many agencies come to me saying that this is a Skill India program, we will run it and we will give you a certificate, and the money share is something for 60-40, and you will get some amount out of this, and your students will get a certificate. And even if there are some agencies to that extent that even if you just give the list of students to us, that is more than enough. So unfortunately, as a principle, it is a great idea that so many skills have to be inbuilt into the students while they are learning. But unfortunately, the implementation part is very, very poor, as probably I don't know what is the kind of implementation strategy that has been adopted by the planners. But I'm unfortunately, I have to say it's very bad. We do not have.
If it is like this, Now we want your suggestion. What is your suggestion? How to improve the skill development ecosystem? How to incorporate it into the college affiliated system and school education? And instead of outsourcing that, we know that they have outsourced and that party has, it's a big scam, although it has not come on the light, but it's a more than 10,000 crores, big scam. So many colleges and people have not got the certificates or the money has not been paid. Lots of cases has been filed, etc., etc. But what are the solution? How to improve it on ecosystem as well as incorporated college system?
Basically, when it comes to skill, there are two sets of them. One is some global things that you expect. For example, English is a global skill that you require to have. And then there are, say, we cannot say the same skills to be applied all across India. There are some regional requirements and probably the requirements of that area. So what I believe is, if you can map a set of skills which are global and local, and you provide support systems to the college to implement it along with their curriculum. What I mean by support is both money as well as the human resource. If you provide them, naturally, compared to this model of implementation, that model will be more focused and it will be more fruitful. I will not say that there will not be any problems there. There will also be problems, but making small education institutions, not the universities, small education institutions responsible for total implementation and providing them complete support. Probably, as I said, next 15 years in case of education, again, next 5 to 10 years in case of skills. I'll again quote Gandhi here. Last 15 to 20 years, I have seen that India was a country which had a lot of skills. Like India was the finest country which had skills in its hands. You go to any village, you could find more than 15 to 20 skills there in the village. But today, our fingers are become numb because that tradition of skills have been taken away by industries. You have big industries. That is why Gandhiji, his proposal was to Grama Swaraj, where each village would be a skill set, and it should be smaller industries, small industries in the village which would use the skills of the people and make products out of it, rather than concentrating on big industries. So that.
But Dr. Kurian, for that, the government has recently announced the vocal for local. So government is trying. Do you think that project is also vocal for local, is also like Skill India? It will be just a eyewash and nothing is going to happen locally, because you are working with them, and still I know that you are going to the villages and doing lots of work. So you are connected with the grassroots. Do you think those types of scheme which the government of India is introducing are reaching to the grassroots, or they are all on the papers and the people are higher ups are making money like Skill India, and that is happening?
Vocal for local. There were, so for example, last week also I heard that government is going to make brands for some local products, because any of these kind of local products have to compete with the global industrial products, which has a great money for advertising and controlling market. So when the local products cannot survive in front of that, this is an evident result of the whole policy that we had from last 56 years. It's not 1 or 2 years. So, and it is very, why we are speaking for local is to satisfy the need of a kind of a political or a social reorientation, where we are focusing on the skills. But to focus on vocal for local, many skills in the villages have been lost. And then whoever is coming up with the small enterprises in the village cannot survive with the competition of the global players.
So, but Dr. Kurian, I have traveled abroad and I found that the local villages, whenever they took the countryside, we found that the local products, they sell as a local product. If they are selling the honey, they said this honey is from this particular village, and this honey is having this quality without any brand, a multinational brand. And people were buying it. These are the local clothes. Might be some expensive or not, but they are buying from there. In India, if we are going to create then instead of creating them an entrepreneur, we are making them a job worker there. We are snatching away their art, because they will not get their individuality. Their name will be of a multinational company, that this honey is of that company, not of the person who is doing it. What do you think about that?
Sir, naturally, it is the case because the global and big corporates are controlling the market and market systems and money systems completely. Any local person who has any skill or any ability to come up with that is a big discussion all across the country, because there are people with the skills, they cannot convert themselves into entrepreneurs. That is why we have a lot of schemes brought in. But unfortunately, many of these schemes, which I was also working as a part of the community, and which we try to also to get into the community, many of these schemes, they are either due to their technical credibility not implementable, or due to the factors associated with, like the mode of implementation, the agency implementing is not implementable. If all those programs which we planned from last maybe around 40 years to support the village systems and village enterprises would have been success, India would have been the exact model what Gandhi proposed. But unfortunately, in the last 40 years, we have converted all villages into dumping yards of cities. And all villagers are city focused. Everybody is drained to city, and from cities they are drained to the big corporates.
So do you agree what the President APJ Abdul Kalam's Pura project?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. It was a very beautiful concept. It was definitely a satellite model where no city or no village is a center of anybody. Everybody is a center of everybody. So that was the greatest idea that our great Abdul Kalam ji brought. Unfortunately, again, when it comes to implementation, we couldn't do it.
No, but the government claims that they are implementing that Pura in a different now name. Instead of APJ Abdul Kalam, they have given the name of one of the BJP leader, name of the scheme. That is fine. But they are creating the hubs in a different places. Like if suppose some villages, cluster of villages are having, say, a particular rice. So they are doing that rice thing in that cluster, and then they are taking those rice and doing. Do you think that scheme is also successful nowadays, or it is just on the papers?
So I cannot say it's a success or failure, but the whole idea of whether the resources would get retained in the village or the resources would get drained out, that is a principle that I usually use. Again, I owe it to our father of nation, Gandhi. Simple idea is how much resources comes into the village and how much resources goes out of the village. This is a very simple formula. And any of these schemes, and Pura's idea was that it is not, villages are not made for city. There should be a reverse flow of resources from cities to village, because today it is not that. It's all resources from the city, villages are being extracted and used by the city for its growth. It should be reversed. That was a basic thing, because it's a a resource flow. Unless this resource flow is proper, unless the blood circulation is not proper. Blood circulation is only one part of your body is eating up all your blood, and all other parts die out of lack of blood. That should not be happening. So if villages get that system eased out, if there are enough resources, any plan, any kind of plan, that should be the mantra.
So basically, education and skills are going to be hand to hand together. We cannot say the education is the only ultimate goal or the skill is only ultimate goal. Education is there required to develop the skill. Do you think, can we summarize this, our discussion today by saying that education and skills are complementing each other, Dr. Kurian?
Yes, sir. They are complementing. And I believe I go back to the same statement. Education is a process which should harness or build a environment and a space around individual to bring the best skills and knowledge out of him for his surrounding, the country's development.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kurian, for giving enlightening all of us in way of answering the questions which I tried my best. I don't know whether I succeed or not, but you have given very, very straight answers and enlightening all of us. I'm sure our viewers are also enlightened today about the education and skills. And viewers, this is our thought leadership series, in which we call a thought leader who is expert, who is an authority on a particular topic or a discussion, who is a wise man, as I told in the very beginning, and give their views. But ultimately, who is sufferer or who is responsible for this today's condition? Although Dr. Kurian used very harsh word very politely, but the reality is far, far darker than what we are seeing today. And the responsibility is lying on the civil society. We should not blame only the politicians or the educators or anyone else. After all, if we will not tell our children, we will not give the respect to the teachers, if we will not give that old respect what we used to get or earlier we used to give, it is not possible for the teaching community or the educational institutions to impart quality education. We are seeing that today the conditions of educational institutions, they are fighting for the survival of the fittest. Their conditions are so bad economically. And in case, if we will not give them the respect, the money which they require, if the government is not interested, as we have seen, that their priority is less to an educational institution than the religious institutions. So that is why we have to take a very, very clear demarcation where we are going. Are we required that our children should be educated so that it will become a very good citizen, global citizen, or Indian citizen in future, or we think that they should go in the back time, as Dr. Kurian mentioned, that we are giving education and we are talking that in the past only. We are not thinking for the future. If we are not thinking for the future, how the child will be educated as well as skill trained. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic in media conference. So please keep watching Media Conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Kurian. Really, today you have given so much knowledge and imparted, which you have imparted. I'm sure all our viewers, and especially the students and their parents, are, if they are watching, they can understand what type of challenges the educators are facing and what type of facilities they are getting. And I am sure if some of the bureaucrats or the politicians also just watch the thought leader, Dr. Kurian's views, they can take a lead and see to it that education system should be giving some priority so that the future of the country will be safe. And thank